Hey. Thanks for clicking in to this special exclusive webinar on DTK Condos in Kitchener, Ontario. I had to bring a very good friend of mine who's on the streets here in Kitchener, Charles Jaque from Milborne Real Estate. How you doing, my man?
Great. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you doing this with me, buddy.
My pleasure.
Our listeners and our viewers know that when we're looking at a new project or an exclusive investment opportunity, especially specifically when it comes to condos, we're always looking at the location. Can't pick up the building and move it. The builder, want to make sure this is not the first time that they're doing this either, and what's their reputation like. And then third, and most important, is the incentives that are going to be offered to an investor. Because they're slightly different if you're going to be living in one of the condos, but as an investor, we want to make sure that there's certain incentives in place. So, Charles, help me talk a little bit about the location of this condo project, DTK Condos, buddy.
Here, Kitchener, Ontario. They call Kitchener the Silicon Valley of the North because tech companies just keep coming. Something about the place just works for them. IN8 Developments knows that here, Kitchener, is where the future is happening. Where Canada's next great city is being built and created by young professionals. So we're building somewhere for you to live that's right in the center of it all. This is DTK, Duke Tower Kitchener.
The developer in IN8 Development specifically was looking for a market that we would be able to leverage the difference in total investment between GTA pricing, Greater Toronto Area pricing, and also, but yet still have the growth potential.
Okay.
So they found Kitchener, and it met their criteria. And so this is an opportunity for people to get in for significantly less in terms of the total investment, but to have the same type of incredible upward pressure on growth.
Now, when you speak about growth, you're talking about like the passive appreciation. What is this like? What are the average condos appreciating for in Kitchener-Waterloo, for example, right now?
Well, for example, the rent last year went up by 15% in Kitchener, and the city is changing. So there are new employers that are coming in that are hiring people at $80,000 and up. It's the fastest growing segment of the income market is $80,000 and up.
Okay.
So that's the people moving into Kitchener.
And it's important because that's going to be our customers as investors. We're always looking at who's going to be our customers, and it's going to be the tenants, and we want to see what their profile is. So they make really good money.
Good money.
They're in stable jobs.
That's right.
Obviously, the tech sector in the Kitchener-Waterloo area is booming. I think I've heard you say along the lines it's probably one of the fastest growing.
That's right. So a lot of people don't know. People think about tech and they think of Silicon Valley. A lot of people actually don't know that North Carolina is #1 in North America for technology.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I thought it was Silicon Valley as well,
Me too.
and Toronto and Kitchener kind of thing.
Right. So it's actually really interestingly, it's actually North Carolina for tech startups, then Kitchener-Waterloo, and then Silicon Valley.
Wow.
So Kitchener-Waterloo is actually second in North America in terms of tech startups. And the reason for that is because of the University of Waterloo and the University of Wilfrid Laurier. University of Waterloo has the 26th top-ranked computer science and engineering program in the world.
Wow.
Which puts it within the top few schools in North America, along the lines of Stanford and MIT. And so major international tech companies like IBM, Microsoft, Google, Huawei are looking at the Kitchener market and they're thinking, okay, we can pay Canadian dollars for real estate, much cheaper real estate than California. We can pay Canadian dollars for very talented people coming out of this top program. There's this self-reinforcing cycle where these major employers are moving in, which in turn attracts more top students to compete to get into the school. And Then it's bringing in the white collar services like Deloitte, for example, who's building a new 35,000 square foot office in downtown Kitchener. Gowlings, which is a major law firm, which is building a new office building in downtown Kitchener. And then you have all the services like food, entertainment, you have escape rooms, you've got snakes and lattes, you've got anything that people would want in a new urban city, which is really interesting because if you go back 10 years ago, everything in Kitchener was industrial, right? And so there's this big conversion from industrial warehouse to high-tech warehouse with employees in these beautiful high-tech buildings with the brick and beam.
I love the fact that you're talking about the population growth, because at the end of the day, as an investor, we want to invest into a place where we know that there's a lot of people coming in, but there's not that much supply, just simple supply and demand, right? We see it obviously in Toronto. A lot of our investors have won in Toronto. A lot of our investors have also won in Kitchener-Waterloo in the student housing segment. But I want to make sure that everyone who's watching and or listening right now understands that this is not a student housing project. We're going to be renting this out to professionals that just came out of school, and the rental demand is so strong in Kitchener-Waterloo. Like rates are, as you mentioned, grew by 15%. That's huge.
Huge. That's the second fastest rate in Canada. And the fastest growing rate of population is people that are earning 80,000 and up.
And we're seeing these guys wanting to rent in like high luxury condo rentals as well. That's nice to see because they just got out of school and in you know, maybe a place where with their 4 friends and stuff like that, or 5 friends. Now they're ready. They're making minimum $80,000 to $100,000 coming out of school. They're looking for something a little nicer. In terms of the location, I know you're a big proponent of transit, as I am, and as I like to always have my investors look for places around transit. Talk to us a little bit about the transit, my man.
So we talked about private industry, right? We talked about the tech companies. We talked about the big institutions.
Yep.
And then you also have government investment. And a lot of the government investment that's happening here is in transit. Mm-hmm. And when you compare Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge, with a population of maybe 500,000 people, to other major cities around the GTA or outside of the GTA, there's a lot more government investment in Kitchener that's happening than these other cities. For example, we already have an LRT line in Kitchener that's already up and running. We don't have that in Mississauga yet.
And it's not like it's coming. It's there already. It's in use. This is why rental rates have been going up so high, because when you can get around transit, I always say it, if you look at world real estate, values go up the highest around transit, and also the rentability and rental rates go up the highest around transit.
And we have a stop right outside of the building.
Oh, I love that. So you just get out and boom, right there, especially in our cold winters, right?
And the building has a 97 walk score. And the building's located in the heart of the business district in Kitchener. Surrounded by government buildings, surrounded by new head offices. So in fact, the Google head office is only a 10-minute walk away.
And if you don't believe it, Google it.
Right. So 32 Duke Street is the location for DTK. DTK actually stands for Downtown Kitchener, or Duke Tower Kitchener. It was a bit of a play on words.
Play on words there.
Because of the location. So you're a 10-minute walk from the Google head office, who's going from 500 employees to 1,000 employees, and they're going up to 2,000 employees right now. That's in the short term.
Look, all joking aside about Google, but like if there's any company that you want to be close to, it's Google. They're not going anywhere. We know that with all the stuff that they're buying out, the YouTubes of the world, everything. That's definitely nice to see that it's so close. The next thing that I really want to make sure we dive into is the developer, the builder, the condo building in itself. So it's Innate Developments. I mean, they have a lot of proven success. Obviously, being a local developer. Talk a little bit about Innate.
Right, so they've got 11 completed projects that have all been built on time. They've got an in-house construction team, so they're not only the developer but also the builder, which is good. They have total control over their timelines. There's good congruence there. They also own Sage Living,
right?
Property management company, which is part of the deal that you negotiated with them.
And we're going to talk about in that sec why it's so important.
Right, for 2 years, property management. So they manage 2,000 beds. And in this case, they've also partnered with DTK. They've partnered with Harlow Capital. So Harlow, they're one of the biggest real estate groups. They're in a lot of different businesses, but they've got 4,000 rental apartments in Canada and about 40,000 rental apartments in the US. And they're partners on a lot of the major great golf projects, upcoming, for example, like Mirvish Gary, or past projects like One Bloor East. Untitled, they're partners on that project as well.
Big project with Pharrell Williams here in Toronto. These guys have obviously been around the block, and it's nice to see that even with IN8 Developments, all their developments have been built on time. That's really nice to see. Really quickly, the building, how many stories, what kind of amenities, and I know there's one bedroom plus dens, and 2 bedrooms available. How many stories is this building, Charles?
This is 30 stories.
30 stories. This is a big tower coming up. This is nice because it's going to be a building that everyone in the Kitchener-Waterloo is already speaking about. But when it's built and on the resale market, it's one of those things, right? We see it in Toronto all the time. You drive by and say, oh, wow, that's such a nice looking building. You start to do the research. It's where you want to live because it's full of amenities. Click to see the brochure and the floor plans. You have access to all the floor plans and the pricing. Prices start as low as $360,000. I think there's even a couple of units at $350,000 for a 1-bedroom. The rental income, guys, will cover all your expenses. Let's talk about the incentives because this is my favorite part. We have the ability now to reserve a unit and have it rented and managed for 2 years at no cost. We have a very, very, and I know Charles gives me heck for it, but I twist his arm as much as I possibly can, and the developers, to get a very special and exclusive deposit structure, which is your down payment. So as an investor, you're going to put down 20%. What's the exclusive? I'll let you spread the word on that.
We've stretched it out for you.
Okay.
So it's 5% in 30 days.
Yes.
5% in July 1st of 2020. 5% in
2021,
and then 5% on occupancy.
And then when's occupancy slated for?
Occupancy is 2021.
Perfect. So guys, here's the gist of it. If you look at a 1-bedroom unit, you now can get in like today with $17,500. Like you can't even buy half of a parking spot in Toronto for that. So again, you're able to reserve a unit, and within the first 30 days, you'll put down $17,500, and then you don't have another payment of $17,500 for like 6-7 months. And all while the values are increasing. It's a very passive investment because you're not doing anything except writing some checks. Okay. And then when the building actually gets built, we don't even have to manage it. So there's no worrying about the tenants and the toilets. And after the actual incentive is done, we'll be able to, Sage Living will be able to continue the rental. And I think it works out to be like 10%. So 1 month's rent.
It's like 8%.
8%. Awesome. Yeah. It's usually 10. So at 8%. And again, with a pre-construction condo, understand, and this is why I like to bring in Charles, because he's the representative for the developer, is that we already know that they're about to increase pricing. And so we're able to get into an investment where you know that the builder, they've allocated a certain amount of units for us, 1 bedroom plus dens, and 2 bedrooms. We already know how much they're looking into increasing the units. So you can get in now and hold today's pricing for something that's going to be built out to about 1.5 years from now.
That's right.
Charles, I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, my man. Guys, for more information, fill out the form below this video, and you'll get a link with all the floor plans, the pricing, the brochure, as well as a reservation form. And fill out the reservation form, and someone from my team will reach out to you. Like any condo project in the province of Ontario, you automatically get a 10-day due diligence period, and that's to make sure that all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed with a lawyer that deals specifically with pre-construction. And as always, the nice thing is you don't have to get a mortgage till this is built. There's a little bit of a formality. My team will walk you through that. Nothing big. We do it approximately 200 times a year, but you actually don't need to get the mortgage until closing. All the information, the brochure, the floor plans, the pricing. You'll have access to it. Just fill out the form below this video right now, or at any time, feel free to give us a call at 1-833-JOIN-REC. That's 1-833-564-6732. Thank you so much for listening.